Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, and today we're going to talk about UFC 304, Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad for the undisputed welterweight title, and also Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blaydes for the interim heavyweight title. Both these fights are rematches of very unceremonious endings to both of them. I mean, we're talking about a eye poke and eye gouge, no contest, 18 seconds into round 2 of a 5-round fight. And we're talking about a 15-second injury TKO. So obviously, those are very fluky outcomes. We want something definitive on Saturday night, and that's why they're running it back. And in Manchester, England, no less. We also got Paddy the Baddy on the card, Arnold Allen, tons of great prospects. So, my friends, without further ado,
let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like this. So let's get down to business.
Main event of the evening for the undisputed welterweight championship of the world. We got the champ, Leon Rocky Edwards. He's 22-3, taking on Belal Muhammad, who's 23-3. And currently, they got it. Leon Edwards, minus 255. The comeback on Belal Muhammad is plus 215. So let's talk about what happened in their first fight, because all I hear people saying is, oh, the first fight, Leon was killing him. I mean, it wasn't even close. You saw what direction that fight was going in. I mean, why is there even a rematch? I mean, they're clearly, I mean, like, the skill sets are so far apart that Leon's just going to murder this guy. Okay, well, let's revisit the first fight and see if it was really the pillar to post ass whooping that and the mismatch that everyone says it was. You know, I'm very curious if that's truly the case. Well, let's pull up what the numbers say for their last fight. Okay, so when you talk about, oh, he was killing him, it was destroying him, it was so one-sided. All right, well, let's see if there were any knockdowns in that round. Nope, no knockdowns in that round. Okay, well, let's see if any of the judges scored the first round 10-8. Nope, all 3 judges scored the first round 10-9 for Leon. Okay, well, let's see if the strike count was something extravagant. Well, let's see. Total strikes for the whole fight for round 1 was 18-14 on total strikes, 17-8 on significance. When you look at the entire fight, it was 20-14 on total strikes. So no knockdowns, no 10-8s. The strike count wasn't even that far apart. And y'all are going to look me in the eye with a straight face and tell me that, oh my God, he was killing Belal. Like, it was just a foregone conclusion that, you know, that, I mean, come on, Belal didn't even belong in there with them. Like, what the? Oh yeah, you can't cuss early in these videos because the algorithm messes it up. But what the are y'all talking about? What? Not a single 10-8, not a single knockdown. The strike count wasn't even that, you know, extravagantly separated. So what domination? What I saw was Leon winning round 1 of a 5-round fight. He won round 1 10-9. We can all admit that. I mean, I'm not gonna debate facts. The facts are Leon won the first round 10-9 unanimously. Okay, well, guess what? There's 4 more rounds to go. Let me remind you about the second Leon versus Kamaru fight. And when I say second, I'm referring to the one with the head kick, because some of y'all noobs don't know that they fought back in the day when they were first coming up. But the second fight, the one that ended with the head kick, well, let's talk about that for a second. What happened in round 1 of the fight that ended with the head kick? What happened in round 1 was Leon actually goes out there. He takes down Kamaru. He takes the back of Kamaru. And guess what? He unanimously won round 1 again. Not 10-8, but 10-9 against Usman. Okay, so now 18 seconds into round 2 of the Belal fight, I mean, it wasn't just an eye poke. This was eye gouged to where, like, you could see the knuckle deep inside, like, and then you hear the countdown, and Leon's talking about how, oh, it was just under the eyelid. I can't do the Scouser, the Manchester accent, but he was talking about how, oh, it was just under the eyelid. I didn't even really eye poke him, basically, is what he's saying. Dude, when you look at the stills, like the photos, you could see like this part of my finger is not visible. You can only see the knuckle. That's how far deep he was in his eyes. Point I'm trying to make is this. So we're talking about that second Kamaru fight, right? First round, Leon wins at 10-9. Now, let's say 18 seconds into round 2 that Leon, fouls him with an eye gouge and they stop the fight. Well, Leon was cleanly winning up until that point. Are y'all just going to draw the same conclusions that, oh, he was just going to go on to dominate the rest of the fight? Now, did he end up winning the fight in the 5th round? Yes. But what happened in rounds 2, 3, and 4? Kamaru started bullying Leon to the point where Leon's cornermen were like, don't let him bully you, son. Don't let him bully you, son. Leon, what are you doing? Believe in yourself. Like, so I'm just saying, man, y'all judging a fight based off one round when it's scheduled for 5 rounds. The round was not even 10-8. There weren't even knockdowns. The strike differential wasn't even that big. And y'all are acting like this was the biggest mismatch you've ever seen. Cut the BS. Like, let's just be real about this. So now back to Leon and Kamaru 2, the one with the head kick. So round 1 starts, and Leon does this thing. He takes him down and takes the back of Kamaru, which is very impressive. Rounds 2, 3, and 4, he cleanly loses them, and he's losing round 5. And actually, he got a very favorable ref intervention there. I forgot if Kamaru was on top of him and they stood him up, or if they were against the fence and they separated him. But either way, he got a ref separation. John Anik, bust out his infamous, incredible line about the cloth from which he is cut, and then boom, head kick. Headshot dead, right? As he likes to say. But to sit here and act like, Leon was dominating that fight, and to also sit here and act like just because Leon won round 1 against Belal, and 10-9 again, no knockdowns again. I got to repeat myself because the way people make it seem like the first fight went, well, it was like it was this pillar to post ass whooping. Like, what are you talking about, dude? Yes, did Leon clearly win round 1? Yeah, but it's a 5-round fight. Okay, so Leon digs deep after losing rounds 2, 3, and 4 against Kamaru. Comes back that 5th round, gets the miracle head kick. And then they turn around a rematch a few months later. I mean, you could tell Kamaru wasn't Kamaru. I mean, you just got head kicked into oblivion after an insane title run. What, are you supposed to be as confident and invincible feeling as you were once before? No. And Kamaru looked completely gun shy in that second fight. Then we go on to the Colby fight with Leon. And Colby's talking the kind of trash where, look, I'm a big fan of trash talk, make fun of the guy for this, make fun of the guy for that. But there's certain lines you don't cross when you're talking trash, even for non-fighters. Like, you don't bring up people's families. You don't make fun of, like, there's just certain lines you don't cross. Like, I'll make fun of, I don't know. Oh, this guy's a leg locker. What a pussy. But like, I'm not going to make fun of like your dad that was incarcerated. I'm not going to make fun of a dead family member. I'm not, you see what I'm saying? Like, I love busting balls and I love, talking shit and being funny and going back and forth. But you don't bring people's families into things like that. And Colby crossed the line where it was almost uncomfortable. And they start that fight and Colby looked so washed. And Leon didn't make him pay for anything. Leon didn't make him pay for shit. I mean, Colby didn't even shoot a takedown until like round 3 of that fight, which was absolutely crazy. And when you look at the numbers of that Colby fight, dude, Leon Edwards landed a total of 57 significant strikes in a 5-round fight against Colby Covington. Like, that is literally half the output and half the pace of a Belal Muhammad fight. And then when you're in there with the completely washed version of Colby Covington and there's not much going on, you're fighting at this completely slow, tepid pace. And then Leon's gassing out in the late rounds again. And we're not in Salt Lake City like in that second Usman fight. Here, Colby's not even pushing a pace. Colby later comes out, says he broke his foot, the whole ordeal. Colby's not even shooting takedowns. And you're the one gassing against him in the late. You're losing the late rounds to a washed-up fighter. And I'm supposed to believe that this is some kind of mismatch here with Belal. Here's what people don't understand about Belal. You know, I understand people might not like his personality for whatever reason. I mean, I've met the guy in person. He's a super nice guy. Like he's a really, really nice guy, but I get it, you know, in 2024, politics, this and that. And I don't even want to get into that. I mean, my stance on all these kind of things is the same stance I've always had my whole life. I'm a human. You're a human. Love thy neighbor and peace for all. That's what I've always believed in. I believe in a world peace. I mean, yeah, like I don't, you know, I'm not into backing governments. I'm not into backing terrorists. I'm into backing the people and the people only. And I stand for world peace. I want my brothers and my sisters to eat at the same table as your brothers and your sisters. That's my dream. But what I'm trying to get at is people don't like Belal because, you know, he's very passionate about his people, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, how can you blame him? Like, it's just tough. You know, you can't choose what part of the world you were born in and stuff like that. But what you can choose is to be the difference. You can choose. It takes one person at a time to spread positivity, to hope for peace. So, you know, yeah, I can go on about that. And I can actually really give my real opinions on that situation, but I'm not going to because this show is meant to unite people, not divide people. And I got peace and love for all my brothers of all religions, all races, all everything. Like we're all one, man. That's my belief. But back to this. A lot of people don't like Belal, and then they talk about his fighting style, saying he's so boring. Look, are we gamblers or are we fans? Okay, we're both, right? But when you talk about being a gambler, like how could you hate Belal from a gambling perspective? Let me explain what I mean. Oftentimes with a lot of fighters that are doing well, you know, you get this amazing line on them one fight. Then the next fight, there's the recency bias, there's the market overcorrection, there's all these things, right? There's zero recency bias. There's zero market overcorrection when it comes to Belal Muhammad. This guy is usually always the underdog. And when he's a favorite, he's a very undervalued favorite against like older fighters. Like he was only like, well, I think like minus 200 against Damian Maia. Then he's plus 115 against an unproven Sean Brady. He's plus 2 something against Wonder Boy. He's plus, what did I get against Gilbert? Was it like plus 160? Like, dude, what market overcorrection? What recency bias? Like this guy is always valued at the window. Yeah, this guy's always undervalued at the window is what I'm trying to say. And again, you look back at that Colby and Leon fight, and I'm telling you right now, the pace they fought at, like Belal fights at double the pace. Belal's gonna make Leon work. Like if Leon can make this a slow, tepid fight where we're at range, I'm from my southpaw stance, blast you with that body kick, go downstairs, eventually find the home for the head kick. And, you know, just make it a you go, I go type fight. Okay, then Leon has a great chance here. Or obviously, you know, if you can catch someone, this is still MMA. You can obviously catch someone, but like if we're just talking about pace and numbers and going for it and nonstop relentlessness, I mean, Belal Muhammad leads that all day. And I think he's gonna have success on the feet too, but it's predicated on what range the fight takes place at. I mean, I think that long range, I mean, are you gonna really try to play a long man game with a southpaw like Leon? You know, slow, you know, low output kickboxing match? That'd be a stupid idea. But what I think Belal's got to do, make this dirty, get in this guy's face nonstop. Do not let him breathe for a second. Punches and bunches, pin him up against the fence, mix in the takedown attempts. Even if you can't get the takedowns, give him the threat of the takedown. Lots of circling. And people mention how Belal's legs have been chopped in certain fights. But you got to understand, Luque, orthodox. Diego Lima, orthodox. Leon is a southpaw. So it won't be that. It's the left high kick you got to look out for. And guess what? In their first fight, Belal ate a flush left high kick and walked through it. So like Belal's one of the most underrated fighters in terms of like, okay, maybe you don't like his style, and we'll talk about that in a second. Maybe you don't like his style. But as a gambling man, when you just talk about ROI, when you just talk about no market overcorrection, no recency bias, always value, you talk about Belal Muhammad. And then talking about the style, people act like this is the most boring fighter they've ever seen. Like, guys, have you ever watched a John Fitch fight? Have you ever watched a Jake Shields fight? And you want to look me in the eye with a straight face and tell me Belal Muhammad is the most boring fighter? Like Jonah Hill cut. I just think you just don't like him. And that's fair. I mean, I like him. I think he's a cool dude, but like, if you just don't like him, okay, admit that, but separate that from his actual fighting skills, because the guy is a workhorse. The guy, they call him overtime because he's like, when everybody is not at the gym yet, he's there. When everybody's left the gym, he's still there. Like when you're already done with your practice, it's 11 at night, everyone's chilling on the recliners. This guy's running the streets of Chicago. So I just think the mission, the purpose, the work rate, the relentlessness, and just the output is going to be the difference here. So I'm going and new Belal Muhammad. And I'm riding this train till the wheels fall off. I mean, you got to understand that, like, if I lose this bet on Belal Muhammad, do you know what that makes me in like my last 10 or 11 Belal Muhammad fights? I'd be like 9-1 or 10-1. You know what I'm saying? So I'm free rolling on Belal, man. This guy is one of the most underrated money trains because people like to hate on him. But as gambling men, like, let's put all the bullshit aside and just look at the skills, and not even that, but look at how he's been performing. Look at the win rate. Look at the work rate. Look at the prices, man. I mean, the market has not caught up to Belal. Take advantage. So yeah, I'm going Belal Muhammad here to upset Leon Edwards in Manchester at like 5 a.m. I hope that they're throwing beers into the crowd, and I hope there's a riot. I'd love to see that. And then hopefully, if Belal becomes the first Palestinian champion, that he can be a champion and a spokesman for world peace, because that's what we need right now. You know, there's, again, like I said at the beginning, I want my family eating at the same table as your family, you know. As long as you stand for peace and for love thy brother, love thy sister, love thy neighbor, and you just want to spread positivity, I don't care what religion, what race, whatever you're from. I just care about what's in here, what's in here and what's up here. And if that's positive, you can be my friend. But all that being said, the only thing I guess I'd be kind of worried about is there is a lot of pressure on Belal, man. I mean, and he has been talking a big game, but usually he backs it up, and you know, it's going to be time to put up or shut up. But if there's a guy that's risen to the occasion more than once, it's got to be him. And this is a formidable challenge here with Leon. You can't debate it. But I just don't see much evolution in Leon's style since the first time they fought. And people like to talk about how, you know, oh, Belal's not the hardest hitter and this and that, which, okay, fair. Firstly, the ref robbed Belal of a highlight reel knockout in that Sean Brady fight. People were like, oh, Belal's never landed a knockdown. Yeah, that's because that ref fucking robbed him of an opportunity of face planting Sean Brady. They saved Sean Brady from that. But let me say something else. Not the hardest hitters have hurt Leon more than once. Brian Barberena floored Leon Edwards with an uppercut. I don't know if y'all remember that. Nate Diaz in round 5 had him on skates. That's a lightweight. I'm just saying, you don't have to be a Francis Ngannou type hitter to rock a guy like Leon. So do not be surprised, is all I'm saying. But ultimately, I'm going to say what I just said a couple minutes ago. I got Belal Muhammad to be the new UFC welterweight champion of the world. Co-main event of the evening for the heavyweight title, or the interim heavyweight title, however you want to look at it. We got the interim champ, Tom Aspinall. He's 14-3, taking on Curtis Blaydes, who's 18-4. And currently, they got it. Tom Aspinall minus 350. The comeback on Curtis Blaydes is plus 300. So, you know, this is one of those things. People were so arrogant when Blaydes won the first time, because these are the same people that, like, when you win a fight when you win a bet a certain way, they'll be like, oh, that was a minus EV winner. You know, they'll try to discredit you and try to do all these things. But when they won via 15-second knee injury TKO, and then they were like, oh, sharps get wrecked. Oh, Blaydes was the side. Like, shut your fucking mouth. Like, what? Like, what? You got lucky with one. Take your win, shut the fuck up, and move on. You know, like to act like, oh, he was clearly the side. Like, how do you know that? What was clearly the side was Tom Aspinall minus 160 there. You got a fluke outcome with Blaydes with that, you know, leg injury TKO. And guess why? Tom Aspinall is minus 350 to minus 375 this time. Listen, man, I respect Blaydes. He's been around the UFC a long time. He's a big wrestler, but he's working on his stand-up a lot. Initially, I thought that Almeida fight, that Almeida kind of pulled a stunt because he had a dominant first round, and the second round, you know, it seemed like he went down pretty easy. But upon rewatching that, Blaydes landed like 18 unanswered strikes. And one thing about Blaydes, he's got those lunchbox fists, man. And yeah, he knocked him out fair and square. But back to this, man, like people are like, oh, did you see how good Blaydes looked in that Aspinall fight? First of all, that fight was 15 seconds. Second of all, there were like one or two exchanges. Third of all, let's say for argument's sake, hey, Blaydes landed a couple shots in those 15 seconds. Okay, why don't you right now pause this, pull up a fight between Curtis Blaydes and Sergey Pavlovich. What was the final outcome? The final outcome was Sergey Pavlovich knocking out Blaydes in the first round. Okay, what happened in the first 15 seconds? Oh, Blaydes landed some shots. So let's say Blaydes landed some shots in those first 15 seconds against Pavlovich, which he did. And then let's say Pavlovich has a freak injury. Are you going to go celebrating like, oh, Blaydes was the side? Oh, I told you guys, like that shit. So that's one of those spots where like when people act like that, that's where it's okay to take a victory lap. I believe in being humble, win, lose, or draw, unless people are talking insane amounts of shit and are just being disrespectful. So yeah. But back to this, man, you know, acting like Blaydes had all this success in this 15-second fight, like because he landed a punch in a fist fight. Like stop. What I think is gonna happen here, yes, we haven't seen Aspinall past well, we've seen him past round one a couple times. We haven't seen him, you know, go into round three. I mean, that's not his fault. No one can last that long with it, you know. And this guy's so athletic. His footwork for a heavyweight is something to behold. The punches down the pipe are beautiful. He can kick as well. His takedown game. I mean, when's the last time you saw someone straight armbar Alexander Volkov in the first round? Like, I really think this guy's the future of the heavyweight division. And since the Blaydes fight, the maturity I saw in the Tibura and the Pavlovich fights, granted, they both lasted under 2 minutes, but I'm just saying, like, to bounce back from that injury, to show like you still got the confidence and to come out there. And he's just so clean with those punches straight down the pipe. And the movement, you don't see heavyweights move like that. And when Blaydes, listen, he's a 265-pound man. He's got a wrestling background. He can crack too. I just don't think he has the finesse of a guy like Tom Aspinall. I don't think he's as clean. I don't think he's anywhere near as smart. I mean, that can't be debated. I mean, wasn't the game plan supposed to be to take down Sergey Pavlovich and you want to go out there and bang with him? You knock out no chin Chris Dawkins. Now all of a sudden you want to bang with Pavlovich. It's like, you know, this dude, Curtis Blaydes, I don't think he's got the fight IQ of a world champion. I think Tom Aspinall does, and the skills and the athleticism. And I think he's got a point to prove after the fluke the first time. So I'm going Tom Aspinall to knock out Curtis Blaydes in the first round. Now, featured bout in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Bobby King Green. He's 32-15, taking on Paddy Pimblett, or as we like to say in Brazil, Paddy Pimblett. He's 21-3. Currently, they got it. Just depends where you look. You know, it's been going a lot of back and forth. Right now, it's minus 115 Bobby, minus 105 Paddy. I do see some plus 100s on Paddy in certain spots. Let me see if anyone notable. Yeah, Pinnacle has a plus 101 on him. That's about from all the notable books, because the MGMs and the onlines and all that, they're now at minus 105. They were originally at plus 105, but yeah, this I love this matchup for a lot of reasons because there are lots of things that I didn't notice about both of their last fights, right? Against Tony Ferguson, against Jim Miller, for example. So a lot of people were talking about how Paddy looked so bad against Tony Ferguson. And my recollection was like, oh, he flying kneed him, he dropped him, he beat his ass, he did all these things, right? But when I went back and rewatched it, all that was true in the first round. But he spent so much energy whooping on Tony Ferguson that by the time the third round came through, and you can quote me on this, you can pull up the tape and watch it. Paddy Pimblett pulled guard on Tony Ferguson in round 3. That is not a good sign. But let me say this. Tony is so washed that Paddy was immediately able to reverse the position, get a takedown of his own, get back on top, grind it out. Now, you can look at it two ways. You can look at it as, he just blew his load trying to destroy Tony Ferguson and get him out of there. Or you could look at it as, well, this guy has a history of slowing down late in fights. You look at the third round of the Jared Gordon fight. Now with Bobby Green, I mean, I love me some Bobby Green. This is such an OG. I remember cashing a plus 250 on him against Josh Thompson back in the day. And one of my best bets of last year, I think, was plus 350 on Bobby Green against Grant Dawson. So, yeah, I mean, Bobby, I'll always be a fan. The thing with Bobby is Bobby has a style where he plays with his hands down and he relies on speed. And speed is the first thing to go. And my boy Bobby is currently 37 years old. He turns 38 next month. So all I'm trying to say, look, he's not an old, 37, but what I'm trying to say is that speed is the first thing to go. And when you have that hands down style, you rely on your reflexes. You remember the great Anderson Silva. He's going to get caught more and more, unfortunately. And you have seen it. Look, Drew Dober and Jalen Turner are serious knockout artists, but that, so you give them a pass for the fact that, like, okay, those guys are legit. They can knock anybody out, but you also look into it as, like, look at the damage he took in those fights. Plus you mix that in with his style, with the hands down, with the bravado, which I love. I love the swag. And for his age, Bobby is still really damn fast. Bobby is really, really good. It's just the thing about this dude, Paddy comes out like a bat out of hell. Paddy comes out hard and Paddy comes to fight. And I think Paddy can tag up a Bobby early on. You saw Jim Miller hurt the vet, the legend. Jim Miller hurt Bobby early in that fight and even late in that fight. What I'm worried about is if Bobby can survive early on, get this to late second, get this to the third round, Paddy tends to fatigue a bit. Not just a bit, like a lot of bit. You know what I mean? Like, dude, pulling hard against Tony Ferguson. But then we got Bobby Green getting rocked all over the place by, like, Jim Miller. Man, this is so hard. And I was talking to a buddy of mine. He's like, how does Bobby lose this fight? Like, are you kidding me? Bobby's going to kill this guy. Yeah, well, Paddy does leave his chin up in the air. Paddy does gas a bit down the stretch. So, I think that's fair to say. But when you tell me, when you talk to me about how does Bobby lose this fight? Well, Bobby turns 38 next month. Bobby has 15 losses on his record. So I think that it's not that hard to come up with an argument for Bobby losing this fight. And then Paddy recently came out and said that he's been struggling with depression, which, listen, man, it doesn't matter how cool of a dude you seem to be, how happy, how much swag, how many girls you get, how much money you make. No one's exempt from a chemical imbalance making you feel a certain way. And even that's why you see rock stars committing suicide and stuff like that. So I just hope that Paddy's okay. I hope that he reaches out to someone because you hate to see stuff like this. You admire the fact that he's open about it, but you hate to see that it's happening to him, is what I mean to say. But it reminds me of, do y'all remember when MaxBet season was going on and the fight that ended that big streak of max bets that I was winning was actually a fight between Lando Venata and Drakkar Klose. And I bet on Lando there. And Lando actually came up with an interview a few days prior talking about how he'd been dealing with depression and all these things. and then he goes out there and lays an egg. So that's my only experience with guys like coming out about that a few days before the fight. So I'd be worried about Paddy either laying a leg or Paddy laying an egg, or Paddy going balls to the wall early on and then just fatiguing bad. Because I do think Bobby's going to win that third round. But it's tough because it's like, I do think Paddy with the youth, with just how he comes hard out the gate, I think he's got a good chance. But I wanted dog money. I'm not getting it right now. So it's a pass for me unless I get dog money. I'm going to slightly lean towards Paddy the Baddy. I think that he can possibly get a favorable decision unless Bobby Green just makes it so clear cut. But Bobby likes to fuck around. Bobby likes to fight close. And in Manchester, I mean, I don't think they want to riot in the arena. So, and we've seen Paddy get favorable decisions, not just on U.S. soil against Jared Gordon, which, you know, a lot of people thought that was a favorable decision, but even on UK soil against Julian Erosa, for y'all that remember that fight. So I'm gonna go Paddy here to squeak one out, or to potentially get an early finish. But betting wise, I would need dog odds. Now, next up in the middleweight division, we got a matchup between Christian Leroy Duncan. He's 10-1, taking on Gregory Kape Rodrigues, who's 15-5 currently. They got it. Christian Leroy minus 150. The comeback on Gregory Kape is plus 125. So shout out to y'all that got the CLV on CLD. I mean, if y'all got him at that plus 160, I mean, I don't even know what the limits were, but y'all got, you know, those dog odds. Hey, you got the CLV on CLD. You did your job, my man. But here, this is really intriguing, this fight. I love this fight because it's like with CLD, with Christian Leroy Duncan, he's very, very athletic. It's almost special, some of the kind of things he can do. I think that some of the fundamentals maybe aren't quite there, but I say aren't quite there. I need to be very specific when I say shit like that, because you see that finishing combo he had on Loughran with the double elbow, like that, like that's not a matter of your technical prowess not being there. I just mean that, you know, I'd like to see more jabs than spin attacks, but that's his game, and I love how he's getting comfortable in there. He's got an extensive amateur history, and yeah, CLD is someone to look out for. But this dude, Gregory Kape, is a physical specimen at 185 pounds. He hits like an absolute truck. He is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's experienced. And he's a guy that, like, while we were talking about, like, with Christian Leroy Duncan kind of has that kind of like unorthodox, super athlete, like flashy type style, which is a lot of fun to watch. Gregory Kape is more meat and potatoes, Muay Thai, walks in a straight line, backs up in a straight line, doesn't move his head. But when he lands, you feel it. When he calf kicks you, you feel it. When he finally decides to use his jiu-jitsu, it looks pretty damn serious, my man. So this is a tough one, because initially I was thinking, hey, Christian Leroy, you know, Gregory Kape gets into some unnecessary exchanges. And it's not okay. It's not even about the chin of Kape being the issue here, because I know he's been knocked out a few times. It's more so the fact that the guy's kind of stiff and he can't move his head. So I think it's more of a defensive issue than I do think it's a chin issue. Because, like, dude, like I said, he's so stiff just walking forward, like, you know, marauding. He's Kape, you know what I'm saying? So yes, there's a chance for Christian Leroy Duncan to knock out Kape, but I would be shocked if Christian Leroy picked apart Kape. Like, Christian Leroy needs to get off on a lot of flashy stuff. And of course, can he spinning back elbow him? Can he spinning kick him and knock him out? Flying knee? Yes, but I just don't think that Christian Leroy Duncan's going to have any takedown success. I think he needs something spectacular, whereas Kape, as long as he doesn't get caught, he's more meat and potatoes. I think he can not give Christian Leroy Duncan the space that he needs and kind of chop him down with calf kicks. You know, he loves that overhand right to left hook combination, kind of like it's like called the 50-50 combo, where you watch Carlos Condit versus Dan Hardy. They both chug overhand rights to left hooks, at the same time, and it's about who lands first. And I love Gregory Hobo Kape in situations like that, especially against a guy like Leroy Duncan, who he doesn't really wing them, he more spins them. But the reason you can't be too confident is because the chin of Hobo Kape, and again, not the chin, excuse me, it's not the chin, is that he's so stiff, he doesn't move his head at all. Like there was a counter early in that Tavares fight where we know Tavares doesn't have the most power. You know, we used to call him Hawaiian Bisbing, but CLD lands that same counter and he's going to put Hobo Kape out. But I think that CLD might be KO or bust in the spot, whereas Hobo Kape, I think you can win a decision. I think you can win a submission, and I think you can win by knockout. So the fact that the underdog has more paths to victory, I'm going to pick him in this spot. But I'm very, I acknowledge the fact that Leroy Duncan is special. He's a different kind of athlete, and you can make spectacular things happen inside the octagon. So you can't act surprised either way. But I'm going to go with Hobo Kape here as the underdog. Now, next up in the featherweight division, we got a matchup between Arnold. We got Arnold Almighty Allen. He's 19-3, taking on Giga Chikadze, who's 15-3. And currently they got it. Arnold Allen minus 230. The comeback on Giga is plus 195. So, I love me some Arnold Allen, but I love me some Arnold Allen when I'm betting him at like plus 110 against Dan Hooker. You understand what I'm saying, dude? Like when I'm betting him at like plus 110 against Makwan Amirkhani, like that's why I love me some Arnold Allen, man. Yeah. When I'm betting him at plus, like it's the same odds, like plus 110, plus 115 against Calvin Kattar. Like that's when I love me some Arnie. But to lay minus 2 something on him against a fellow kickboxer when Arnie fights close a lot of the time just seems like a tough proposition, man. Because Giga, look, the issue with Giga is he doesn't fight at the highest pace. Not that Arnie necessarily does either. But Giga, there's been some hit or miss performances. Like he's looked incredible in some fights, but the Kattar fight was like he got taken out one time and then he had no gas at all. And like, not that Arnie's regularly shooting takedowns, but maybe one takedown, we can drain this man and then you take over from there. And one thing I like about Arnie is that he kind of takes his time a bit, but when Arnie gets off on his little blitz, I mean, he goes full bar brawl. And speaking of bar brawl, y'all know about the Arnold Allen bar brawl story when like some dudes like attacked his girlfriend and he like knocked out like 6 dudes in the club. Like don't quote me on it because I don't know. That story is probably a little fabricated, but go look up the Arnie Allen bar fight. It's like quite the story. Like he was just like apparently dropping bodies left, right, and center to protect his girlfriend. So shout out Arnie. I'm a fan, man. But here it's just, I don't like the price. Like I said, I'm used to the days of getting plus 110 on this guy against Dan Hooker, getting plus 110 against Makwan, plus 110 against Calvin Kattar. So minus 2 something against Giga. It's probably right. There's no value here. So this is actually a dog or pass situation. It's going to be hard for Giga to, get off on his Giga kick. And yeah, it just seems to me like they both fight at kind of slower tempos, but there's more weapons on the Arnie side. And something I love about Arnie is that for a southpaw, I love how he throws his lead leg as a calf kick. Like he does a lot of sneaky stuff I like. He's got that kind of tri-star defensive guard where when he goes to guard, he like has his hands out where he's like kind of like guarding with his elbow and shit, like some stuff that Rory McDonald used to do. But yeah, I can go off on a tangent about all this stuff, but yeah, close fight. I see it probably most likely going all 3. I'm gonna go Arnie to edge it out. Now, these next few fights, actually, let's go ahead and talk about this. Let's go in a weird order. Next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Mohammed Mokaev. He's 11-0, taking on Manel Kape, who's 19-6. And currently, they got it. Mohammed Mokaev minus 150. The comeback on Manel Kape is plus 130. So this is just one of those situations where I would probably take plus 130 on Manel Kape versus any flyweight on planet Earth. I mean, that's just period point blank. Nothing. Period point blank. Nothing against Mokaev. Mokaev's fantastic. Mokaev set the record for the most takedowns landed in a flyweight fight against Charles Johnson with 12. My boy Cody Durden set the second record for 11 takedowns against Charles Johnson. But Mokaev's had some moments. We figured out that Mokaev is not the best striker. Like, he can have moments like, that like a flying knee or land a spin or land something big. But when you're talking about like actually striking for real, like setting up your jab, your calf kicks, like your circling, your footwork, your head movement, your defense, like it's just not there for Mokaev. But what is there is that the guy can grapple his ass off. We know that. But to get to the top of a division like flyweight, where this is the most well-rounded division in the history of the sport, most technical division as well, you need to be well-rounded. And this seems like a spot where it might be first L time, but it just comes down to Manel Kape being Manel Kape. I know Manel, he does have a big ego, but when Manel truly locks in, I really do think that this guy can be a world champion. And I think that he's paid his dues outside the UFC to the point to where when he finally got into the UFC, he was ready to go. Well, let me say this. The first couple fights, he had to make an adjustment because he was going from fighting with tennis shoes in Japan to now all of a sudden you're not in a ring anymore. You're in the octagon, no tennis shoes. So he had to make an adjustment, but I thought he fought admirably with Pantoja. I thought he beat Nicolau the first time. Next few fights, been doing his thing. Sick Kimura sweep against Dvorak. And now it's time to get your number one contender fight. And do I think Mokaev is going to take him down? Probably, but fights don't end when you just take someone down once. And the thing about Mokaev is he's not a guy that just takes people down and then just holds them down. Like, why do you think he set the record for the most takedowns in flyweight history? Because Buddy's kept getting back up. So that's and guys like Malcolm Gordon are getting back up. So if Malcolm Gordon can get back up, I think Manel Kape can get back up. And when they're on the feet, it's not going to take much to not just hurt a guy like Mokaev, but to make him start shooting from a mile out, to start to make him feel a pressure he's never felt before, to start to make him feel a desperation, a sense of, oh man, like I've never been in these kind of deep waters in the octagon. Yes, he survived a deep knee bar attempt against Filio, which credit to him, but you can credit it. That's not a matter of fatigue. That's a matter of this guy might be fucking double jointed. This guy might practice hot yoga and have an insanely flexible legs like that. That might come down to that, but I want to see Mokaev, in that fatigue state, really push and see what you really got, my man. See what's really up when we get to the depths of the ocean, and it's time to see if you got your floaties or not, because Manel Kape has been there, and Manel Kape is well-rounded, and Manel Kape is ready to come out here and earn his title shot. And I think as long as Manel Kape, is in the championship shape that I expect him to be in, I think he's going to come out here and knock out Mohammed Mokaev. So I'm going to go Manel Kape to hand Mohammed Mokaev his first ever UFC defeat and MMA defeat. Now, guys, the rest of these fights, while there are some intriguing ones, I'm just going to go a little bit quicker on them. In fact, I wouldn't mind just giving quick picks because some of these, I'm just going to give some quick picks for the rest of them, because I felt like the fights I already talked about were the ones I had the most to say about. Whereas these other ones, I'll just give you some quick thoughts. So, featured prelim in the featherweight division, Nathaniel Wood, he's 19-6, taking on Daniel the Pit Pineda, who's 28-15. Wood minus 410, Pineda plus 310. Wood's better everywhere. Wood is a phenomenal fighter. The issue with Wood is that his chin is not the best, and he likes to debate that and say it's not true. Dude, how many times has this guy been dropped? How many times has this guy been knocked out? Like, him getting dropped costs him in tons of fights. And but besides that, he's very good. His calf kick game, those trips he was hitting on Jordan, he's well-rounded. Like, Wood's a solid-ass fighter. And Daniel Pineda, he is the definition of a kill or be killed fighter. Like there's no more kill or be killed than Daniel Pineda. Like let's talk about it. So how many wins do you think that Daniel Pineda has? So, my friends, Daniel Pineda has 28 wins. Okay? You ready for this? Out of all those 28 wins, all 28 of them are finishes. This man is a finisher through and through. 19 wins by knockout. Excuse me, sorry. 9 wins by knockout. 19 wins by submission. So this is the definition of kill or be killed. And the thing about Nathaniel Wood is, I mean, he's been killed before. I mean, he can be dropped. He can be hurt. So I definitely think Pineda has a sneaky chance to come out here and rock and rock Nathaniel Wood and get him out of there. But if that does not happen, this man Pineda is 0-6 lifetime on decisions. And I think that Nathaniel Wood can come out here and pick him apart a little bit, but he's going to have to weather a serious early storm and not get finished along the way. And if that happens, I think Nathaniel Wood probably wins the decision here. Now, next up in the strawweight division, we got a match between Molly McCann. She's 14-6, taking on Bruna Brasil, who's 9-4. Currently, they got it. Molly McCann -325. The comeback on Bruna Brasil is +250. Bruna Brasil had the nicest head kick knockout in women's contender series history. Granted, it was against Marnik Mann. And then Molly McCann, you know, I like Molly McCann. She kind of has a bit of that, like, she's like a women's version of like Frankie Edgar, short, stocky, wrestle boxer. And they realize that, look, she's not going to make it to the top of the division, but what she can do is she's got a big personality. She's got a big following. I mean, let's look up how many. Does she have 1 million followers on Instagram? I'm actually pretty curious about that. I'm sure she does, right? Let's see, Molly. Oh no, she has 500,000. Okay, well, shit, still growing her following. Still, like, 500,000 is still a lot. But what I'm trying to say here is that, like, they're no longer gonna give Molly McCann an Aaron Blanchfield, or you know what I mean? Like, the thing with this girl, Bruna Brasil, she's kind of skinny, she's kind of tall, she's kind of long. Had that head kick, has a Muay Thai background. But the thing about Bruna is she can be bullied in fights, man. And she also doesn't have the best chin in the world. She's been knocked out by, you saw that Denise Gomes fight, and I don't think she's got the biggest heart either. So basically, like, yeah, if Molly wants to stand at range and have a kickboxing match with this girl, she'll lose. But I think Molly is gonna bully this girl, bum rush her, pin her up against the fence, level change, take her down, rough her up, roughneck her, like my boy Chris Lieben used to say, and just go out there and dominate, whether it's a submission, TKO, or decision. I think Molly McCann's going to win this fight by just being meaner, just wanting it a little bit more. Now, next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Caolan Loughran. He's 9-1, taking on Jake Hadley, who's 10-3. Now, it says Caolan, but I believe it's Caolan, even though there's no E. So, yeah, my Irish fans, I'm starting to learn a little bit. Currently, they got it Caolan Loughran -200. The comeback on Jake Hadley is +170. Interesting, because Jake Hadley is the more hyped prospect, but Jake Hadley's moving up to bantamweights on very short notice. And Caolan Loughran is a physical guy. I mean, he's a guy that fought Lapilou in his debut. And here, I mean, it's tough because I think that Jake Hadley actually could have some success with his boxing, which you don't often see from him. The thing about Hadley is that his takedown defense isn't the best. He can be bullied on the ground. Don't let him bully you, son. And Loughran, he's one of those guys like a Vittori blockhead kind of guy. Doesn't really move his head, kind of stiff, but he's powerful. He's physical. And if he gets on top of Hadley, I think he can probably just neutralize Hadley a bit. But what I'm interested about is on the feet, because, like, yes, Caolan is super durable, but how do I know he's super durable? Because he's super hittable. So I'm curious to see if Hadley can have any kind of success here standing. But I think that when Caolan is able to mix in those takedowns, I think that he can bully him and kind of hold him down a bit. So it might not be as simple as I'm leading it on to be, but I just kind of see Caolan being the more physical, kind of the bully in there. And for that reason, I'm going to pick him to win. Now, next up in the light heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Modestas Bukauskas. He's 15-6, taking on Marcin Prachnio, who's 17-7. Currently, they got it. Modestas minus 150, Marcin plus 130. So Modestas kind of long kicker, tall man's defense, keeps his chin up in the air, and a little bit more athletic than his opponent here. And then Marcin kind of has he's like an unathletic karate guy, but he fights at a high pace, man. Like he's put up over 100 significant strikes in more than one fight. He actually beat Khalil Roundtree, which you don't often see. And then with Bukauskas, I mean, Bukauskas barely got past Zach Pauga, man. The difference here is that I think that Marcin Prachnio is going to work at twice the rate of Modestas Bukauskas. Like I think that either guy could get caught, of course. I think that Marcin might slow down late in fights, but the thing about it is he just pushes a higher pace. He just puts up twice the numbers of a Bukauskas, and neither guy's got the best chin, but just give me the guy with the higher work rate, and that's Marcin Prachnio. So, and he's the underdog, so I'll pick him for that reason. Next up in the welterweight division, we got a match between Obon Elliott. He's 10-2, taking on Preston Parsons, who's 11-4. Currently, they got it. Preston Parsons minus 135. The comeback on Obon Elliott is plus 115. Yeah, this is another one where it's like Obon Elliott, the fact that he made it to the UFC, I mean, Dana was on the fence about signing this guy because it's just look, he's got a great personality, he's hilarious, Welsh gangster, haha. But like his fighting style is so boring. He's so unathletic. He's so slow. He got taken down twice by Val Woodburn. But the thing about him, I got to give him credit. He is a dog. He will go for it. Like he will try. But Preston Parsons, another one that's not the most reliable, but he's been in there with a better level of competition, not just in the UFC, but outside the UFC. Like outside the UFC, he finished Ignacio Bahamondes. He fought Mike Perry. So I think he's the more battle tested guy. It's just, how's he going to deal with the jet lag, the judges. So yeah, it's tough to have a confident pick. I'm going to pick Preston Parsons, but not confidently. Next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Sam Patterson. He's 11-2, taking on Kiefer Crosbie, who's 10-4. Currently, they got it. Sam Patterson minus 420. The comeback on Kiefer Crosbie is plus 320. So Kiefer Crosbie, I was very surprised he got signed to the UFC. I mean, this guy's like a YouTube boxer. All he offers is swinging. I say swinging bombs, but it's not like Paul Daly bombs or anything. It's like a bar brawling Irishman bombs. This guy's probably going to be 2 and done. I wish my boy Jared Gooden got this Kiefer Crosbie fight, guarantee him a highlight reel win. Here with Sam Patterson, look, he's got serious tall man's defense. He can be knocked the F out like he was in his debut, but granted, that was at 155 pounds. Moving back up to 70, more water in his body and brain. And in that last fight he had against Johan Leines, he didn't even waste any time, man. Like he actually went for a snap down from the front headlock. And from there, he was able to transition to the back and choke him out. And I think that, look, just don't get knocked out. And you can pick this guy apart standing too, don't get me wrong. But I think where he's got his best avenue to victory is to find a way to get this guy to the mat and choke him out shortly after. So, yeah, I'll be going with Sam Patterson there. Next up in the heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Mick Parkin. He's 9-0, taking on Łukasz Brzeski, who's 9-4-1. Currently, they got it. Michael Parkin minus 280. The comeback on Łukasz Brzeski is plus 240. Mick Parkin is like the big engine that could, not the little engine. He's unathletic, he's slow, but he's pretty good. He's like technical, he's well-rounded, he trains with the right people, he's got a good attitude. So there's a lot to like about him. I feel like he's going to be a serviceable heavyweight that sticks around. And his opponent, Łukasz Brzeski, like they've been feeding him to prospect after prospect after prospect, man. Martin Boudet, who's like what 5 or 6-1 in the UFC. Carl Williams, who's like 3 or 4-0 in the UFC. Waldo Cortez Acosta, who's like what 5-1 or some shit in the UFC. Walter Walker, who was 11-0 at the time, and he beat him. And now he's got the 9-0 Mick Parkins. So they've not been giving any easy road to Lukasz Brzeski. I guess that's what happens when you test positive for steroids. I'm gonna go with Mick Parkin and come out here and outwork him like all these other guys have. Now, last but not least, in the strawweight division, we got a matchup between Shauna Bannon. She's 5-0, taking on Elise Ardelean, who's 9-5. Currently, they got it. Shauna Bannon -160. The comeback on Elise Ardelean is +145. So I had no idea that Elise Ardelean was a pro fighter, dude. Like, have y'all followed her on Instagram? She is like hilarious. She is absolutely so funny. Like, you know how girls like they'll post their asses and they want the likes and stuff. Okay, cool. Yeah, we're grown men. We like that. But like, she's like funny about it. She's got like a sense of humor. She does that funny face. I like this girl. Like, she's cool. I just didn't know she was a fighter. I had no idea she was really a fighter. I thought she was just like some influencer model, but like I always liked her personality. I thought like she's like I said, she wasn't just like, you know, the typical, you know, oh look at me, like, dude, she's fucking hilarious, man. Like I like there's creativity in her videos, so I'm a fan of that. I just didn't know she was a fighter, but it turns out she's fought some UFC level competition. She fought the champ Zhang Weili, got her ass beat. She fought Gianna Belbita, got finished, and she fought Stacy Stansu, I forgot the girl's name, and went to a split with her. So all her experience against UFC competition has not been the best results. And then with Bannon, she's super green. She's got like, I think a Taekwondo background. I didn't think she looked too bad against Bruna Brasil, you know, considering for that level. I'm not saying like, you know, with like top 15 aspirations. I'm just saying for that level, I didn't think she looked too bad. Yeah, I just really don't know. I think if Elise gets on top of her, I mean, Elise, she got a fatty on her, so it'd be hard to get a girl like that off of you, at least for Shanna's point of view. I don't know, because it's like Shauna, I know, is like a green fighter trying to make a name for herself that still has a long way to go. And Elise, I didn't even know was a fighter, but apparently she's the more experienced one here. So, um, I don't know. Let's go with Elise. Let's go with Elise here. Let's see. Let's see if she's actually a real fighter. Don't tail me on that because I just don't know. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'll go Elise there. Hopefully she gets some top control and the camera angles are right. Now we got to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. So what is the fight to watch for UFC 304? Man, you know, besides the main event, the co-main event, I got to go with this matchup in the middleweight division between Christian Leroy Duncan and Gregory Hobocop Rodrigues. If this fight goes all 3 rounds, expect war. But I have a feeling someone's going to hit the deck viciously, brutally. I mean, you talk about Leroy Duncan with the spins, with the elbows, with the kicks. You look at a guy like Hobocop with the nasty left hook, with the overhand rights, chopping you down with calf kicks. World-class jiu-jitsu when he chooses to use it. So for that reason, I think CLD versus Hobocop is the fight to watch. Now, who is the fighter to watch? My friends, I think that the fighter to watch is Manel Kape. Listen, this is a guy that a lot of us have been saying he could be the best flyweight on planet Earth right now. This guy could be a champion. And he's got the undefeated phenom, Mohammed Mokaev, in front of him, who is 11-0 as a pro, but he's 23-0 as an amateur. So it's like when you're dealing with a guy who doesn't even know what it means to lose and he's going up against someone with the potential to be a world champion. I mean, yeah, Manel Kape is absolutely my fighter to watch. You beat the undefeated phenom, Mokaev, and you're going to be the guy to get the rematch against Pantoja and potentially be a champion in 2025. So for that reason, Manel Kape is my fighter to watch. Well, my friends, we did it. It's going down this Saturday. And I just want to address something real quick. So y'all saw my amazing looking thumbnail for this video. Shout out to my boy Meticulous for stepping up to the plate. And let me tell y'all something. So my old graphic artist, which shout out to him, he did a great job stepping my thumbnail game up for the last few years. I'm very grateful. We just went in different directions. So I posted that I need a new thumbnail guy, and I got a couple responses from some awesome people, some fans of the show, and I got some really, really good samples of potential artwork. And I was planning on going with one guy. I liked what he had. He did some really good work. He was a supporter of the show. But then my boy Meticulous, a couple hours later, showed me what he's on, and just it was a no-brainer to work with him. His vision for long term, his skill at art, his passion, his willingness to learn, to want to work, to want to be better, and to want to be original and creative and to fully embrace art. I mean, dude, it was a no-brainer to go with him. So thank you to everyone that sent me samples, and welcome my new artist, Meticulous. So thank you, my man. Now to all the fans, you know how much I love you guys. So grateful. You can follow me on Instagram at Half the Battle Pod, on Twitter at Best Fight Picks. Make sure you hit the like button here. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment. And good luck this weekend. So until the next time, let's cash these bets.